Hello, this is Rico Caveglia, and I want to welcome you to the Great News Podcast. And this is actually my very first guest. I gave a couple introductory about what this is all about. And so, again, I want to let you know that our goal here is to offer you the abundance of great news in the world. In fact, there's much more good news than there is bad news that's always put out by the mainstream media. So that's why so many people are so depressed and in fear and stressed out. But so we're going to let you know that there's much more great news going on and great things people are doing. So we're going to be interviewing people who are making a big positive difference in the world. And they're here to inspire you and empower you with what's possible in your life and how you can contribute to the changes that you want to see in the world. So the title of this first episode is The Blueprint for Nourishing the Human Spirit. And I'm so happy to have this guest. And I think this is just perfect because of all the changes and things that we need to see in all different aspects of our life. It's really going to come. The only way we're really going to see some really major positive changes is when people wake up spiritually. And that's what's going to trigger all the other things that we're doing to make them really come to fruition. So our guest is Dr. Pamela Giraldi. She is a visionary and pioneer in spiritual growth and transformation. She shares life-changing experiences and insights with clarity and humor. She captivates readers and audiences with wisdom and practical guidance from the blueprint for the human spirit, her holistic model for conscious, compassionate living. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we need. We need some conscious, compassionate living. And she is an architect for the human spirit. She is also a registered nurse with a master's degree in public health and a doctorate in holistic health sciences. So Dr. Pamela Giraldi, thanks so much for being here.
It is my pleasure, Rico. I'm just delighted to be here with your audience and to share what I've learned on my journey. It's been an interesting and a fun and powerful journey, so to speak. So I'd like to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I read through a lot of your stuff, and I read through your blueprint, and you really express all those things so eloquently, really about the human spirit and how we can empower ourselves more. So, but let's start off with the whole concept of this podcast is not only to give great news, but also to let people know, that, where we are as human beings. We haven't really progressed too far as we should yet. We're still doing so many crazy things. And most of all, we're still having wars and killing each other. How really stupid is that? So why don't we just start with that and say that, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to get your thoughts. As brilliant as human beings are, and all the creativity and innovation and all the technologies and all the things we've did, but yet we're still fighting each other and killing each other. How ridiculously stupid is that?
It certainly is such a waste of energy and time and resources to be in conflict with others. And I know, and I've learned from my blueprint for the human spirit, that the only reason that this happens is because we think of ourselves as being separate. We don't realize that we are one with all that is. We are one with God. We are one with everyone. We are one with the universe, with Mother Earth, so to speak. And when we finally get that, then we no longer live in fear, because separation is what creates all the fears, and it causes us to go on the defensive, so to speak, and to react and respond and view ourselves as, it's either them or me. And when we're one, that just doesn't happen, because what we do to others, we do to ourselves. We are one. And when we work together for the highest good, look what we could do. It would just be so amazing if we knew our oneness and let go of that belief about separation.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, I always like to say, can you just imagine? I don't think we can even imagine what amazing life it would be here on this planet if we were all just, first of all, realizing, like you said, we're all just brothers and sisters on this planet. There's only one race, the human race. I wish we could realize
right.
that. There's only one race, right? And
Yes.
that if we can start, everybody starts to realize that and start treating each other as brothers and sisters and collaborating and cooperating. Because isn't it true? The majority of people on this planet are just trying to survive. They never get to use any of their creativity or any of their ideas. And just think how far, what amazing things we would have if everybody was living in peace and everybody was able to be creative and offer what their gifts were.
Exactly. And I just envision that for us all, because we need to hold that vision. And there's so many times that people try to become activists, say, to promote peace and prevent violence. But what I have learned through the blueprint for the human spirit is that it all begins within. So instead of focusing out there and blaming others, playing the victim card, we need to look inside. We need to work on ourselves. And when we become as aware, as authentic as we can be, when we live as compassionately and as consciously as we can, then we truly make a difference. There is a gentleman, Dr. David Hawkins, who said in his book, Power versus Force, it's been out quite some time, to become more conscious is the greatest gift that we can give to the world. And moreover, in a ripple effect, the gift comes back to us. So my efforts, everything that I do is truly focused on how we can discover who we are, embrace that beautiful divine spirit that we are, the essence of our being, and express that every day, every moment. And in doing that, we certainly make a difference, because when we raise our energy vibration, so to speak, the more awake and aware that we are, the more we can impact others. So if we don't work on ourselves, it isn't going to happen. We will never, ever have world peace until we find peace within us.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. It starts with us. And, you know, you mentioned it, like say about consciousness. I think that's that's really why we're here. That's what we're here for, to raise our consciousness, to
Yes.
learn how to live in peace and how to create all these amazing things that we're capable of. And I think that one of the biggest really challenge that we have with humanity is lack of expectation of what's possible. You know, we've just kind of most people, if you ask them, yeah, we're going to start creating world peace, and would you like to have world peace? And they'll say, sure, but it's never going to happen. You know, they think that's just the way it is. It's just human nature. And so we have to tell them that, no, that's not correct. As long as if you believe that that's the way it's always going to be, then you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. So we got to change our belief system about what's possible.
Right. Ego believes that, but the reality is that we are divine beings, and we are here to share our gifts, to discover them, to enhance them, to be the examples of love, and let our light shine as brightly as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Now, before we proceed, I want to let our audience know that you have some really great gifts from on your website. You actually have a printout of the blueprint for human spirit. That's really a good guide. So be sure to stay tuned to the end, and then we'll let you know where you can pick up all those great gifts. And also, Dr. Giraldi, she also offers some, well, you tell them what you're offering. Yeah.
Sure. In addition to speaking, and I write blogs, but I also have a couple of beautiful books. One is called The Dance of Ego and Essence, Confessions of a Divine Diva. And this is very special because I was ill for about 6 months with viral thyroiditis. And when I finally recovered, I asked, what should I do first, that will make a difference? And I was guided to come to my office, my sacred space, and write confessions for 40 days. And I had no idea why I should need to do that. I'd been a spiritual student and teacher for many, many years, but I thought, well, this is what I was guided to do. So I did. And every day for 40 days, I received a word that created a visceral reaction. And then I journaled my life experiences, and I could see how my life had shifted and how I had gone from, transformed so much in my life. For instance, the very first day, the word I received was discipline. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't like that word much.
Yeah.
I was disciplined harshly as a child. I was raised in a very conservative, fundamental home and church. And so it was very limiting, and I had to find my own way. But discipline, as I wrote my stories and what I had learned through many years, was transformed into direction. Because when we integrate discipline, we are able to say no to one thing so we can say yes to something else. We can pursue our heart's desire, and it becomes direction. So everything that we experience as humans here on earth, as we're spiritual beings in a kind of an earthly experience, we're here to learn and to grow. And so this book reveals very candidly, with radical honesty, what I learned and discovered, some of many mistakes that I made, so that I could finally get to a point where I can show up as like the hands, the heart, and the voice of God. I think we are here to express the divinity that we are. And so with this book, The Dance of Ego in Essence, and its companion journal, that you can join me in this wonderful 40-day experience. And 40 was very important because 40, if you think of some of the stories, say in the Bible, 40-day flood, 40 days in Gethsemane, 40 years in the wilderness. And of course, with our gestation is 40 weeks, 40 represents rebirth. And that is what we are doing. We are awakening to the truth of our being. And so this guide, I hope you will join me in this process. It is powerful. I was flying and so free by the time I had finished this 40-day experience that I know that it could help everybody. And it'll help us shift from this idea that things are happening to us beyond our control. We no longer have to remain in this victimhood state, but we can learn how to embrace the truth of our being and be empowered to be all that we are.
Really well said. Yeah, just the last part, what came to my mind again, is so important to realize that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And when we can have that mind shift and realize that everything's a lesson, and that we also are creating it ourselves, that we are creating our reality, and we
Yes.
can learn from that. It's so empowering. And that's one of the big messages that we want to get out to people, to realize that life's happening for them. And so you got to go out and make it the way that you want it to be. So I definitely encourage you, at the end of this episode, we'll let you know how you can contact Dr. Giraldi, and you can get her free stuff and also get her book. So that would be really good. So before we actually get into what your blueprint for nourishing the human spirit's all about, and how it can be so helpful and healing for people, I want to talk just a little bit more about still one of the biggest problems we have still is that the world primarily is still controlled by the few greedy people that just got so greedy for not only for how much wealth they could charge, but just for power. So how do you think that came about, and what do you think the solution is? How are we just going to have to get rid of these people, or are they ever going to have an awakening, or what?
Well, again, we can't change them, but we can change ourselves, and we can certainly create a positive impact by being all that we are by embracing the truth of our being. And there are a number of ways that we can embrace change and manage chaos, so to speak, because the world is in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a number of things. One thing that we can do is to be our best self and balance our personal life with our work or whatever. And we can nourish the body, we can expand our mind, we can heal the heart, and we can listen to those gut instincts and certainly integrate all of that into one glorious whole. And we can create a positive environment where we look at how we respond to stress. And for instance, some of us might just worry and fret and stew, and that doesn't get us anywhere because it's stressful, but it's also not productive. Some of us might freeze and do nothing, because we think, that we're kind of paralyzed. But again, that's low stress, but it doesn't produce any positive results. Some may fight, and that is the standard MO today. You fight what is different and confront and challenge others. Well, that may be moderately productive, but it is very stressful, and we don't need more stress. The better way is to go with the flow, to adapt and to allow, which is low stress but high response. So we show up just as the love that we are instead of resisting, because what we resist persists.
Yeah.
So if we are, going to fight against or push against what's happening, it is only going to continue. So I think we need to be an example for our children, for our families, for our community, for our workplace, and then we can create harmony. And we create harmony by just allowing ourselves to understand and know oneness. And certainly, most of us have heard about the 4 agreements, the Toltec wisdom by Don Miguel Ruiz. And those key little points can be so, so helpful. Impeccable with our word. Don't take anything personally because what somebody does and says, it's about them. Don't make assumptions. How often do we get ourselves in trouble because we assume what somebody says, we just interpret it in our own way. And certainly, since we're doing so much of our communication through text and emails and things like that, you're not getting the emotion, you're not seeing the intent behind what someone is saying. So we need to be very careful about that. And certainly, we want to do our best in every moment. So there is one other thing that I would like to share about how we can manage chaos, how we can live more consciously and create positive change. And you alluded to that when you talked about people who are in control and people who may have taken advantage of others because of, financially. But the blueprint for the human spirit gave me the perfect model that I call for creating abundance. And we need to give first, share our gifts in order to receive. It creates almost like a vacuum, so to speak. And we need to give to others and help them. We need to take care of our earthly home. And when we do that, then we get back from the earth, we get resources and support, we get back from others. So there is this beautiful, almost like a triangle of abundance with ourselves, others, and earth. And in the process, when we are all working together for win-win-win solutions, where we all win, then we create this synergistic impact that kind of creates a leap in consciousness so that we can live more abundantly and in harmony with all that is. So the blueprint for the human spirit does also offer a guide for how we can do that. We start with a vision. It's kind of a spiritual vision. And then from our gut intuition, we ignite our courage and our will to move forward. We listen to our heart and understand what the possibilities are. We use our minds to create a plan, so to speak, that we put in action with our bodies. So there is this whole life interaction involved for us to create positive change.
Okay, so what I'm hearing and what I'm getting from that is, as we evolve individually, and more people, because we put out that energy and people pick it up from us, and more people begin to live as we're going to talk more about your human blueprint, is then as when enough people are living that way, that energy just spreads across the globe. And then these people that are resisting, still, because they're in control, they control all the money, and they're still holding everybody else back, but they're going to lose their power. First, I want to say too that even though it seems like there's still so much people that are dictators and in control and holding people down and repressing people all around it actually has gotten better. It's slowly, there's less dictators, there's less regimes that are really persecuting their people. It's getting better, although again, you wouldn't realize that by listening to the mainstream news. But we are progressing, and we are in a big energy shift on this planet now, where I think the light is overcoming the darkness. But I think what I'm trying to do is tie this together, is how so people can feel like, okay, so what I'm doing to improve my own life and to live more consciously, that's really what's going to bring down all the things, that all these major changes that we have to change as far as political and economical and racism and environmental, all these challenges that we have. The way that we're actually going to overcome those things is when enough people are raising their consciousness up high enough, and then more people realize that it's possible, and they come on board. And pretty soon, when enough people are doing that, then all the darkness is just going to fall away, right?
Yes, it's like this leap in a quantum leap, so to speak. And the experts say that when there are enough people that are doing this, that will happen automatically. We need a critical mass, so to speak, of people who are committed to that, to their own awakening. And in doing that, then everybody is elevated with us. That is the most powerful thing that we can do. If we become, and some people are led to be social activists. I'm not. My intention is to help individuals, because I believe that is going to make the most difference and where my efforts have been guided to be. So, but overall, when we come together and know our oneness with all that is, the energy that we create as a group is just going to raise us so far, and we'll make this quantum leap. And I think we're getting ready to do that, and it's kind of exciting to watch. And they also say, whoever they are, that the brighter we shine, which is what happens when we become much more conscious, our light shines so brightly that it creates havoc, in the rest of the world. And so the darkness kind of tries to counteract that.
Well, that's actually right. Actually, the definition of darkness isn't really a thing. Darkness is just an absence of light. So
Absence
as we
of
become
light.
more light workers and spread the light, the darkness is going to disappear. And on that very subject, that's exactly right. You know, so what I've created, I think I've just barely told you about it, but I created a new website called the Tree of Positive Intentions. And that's exactly what it's all about, where people can go and post their positive intention about what the changes that they really want to see in the world in all the different categories, whether it's regenerative farming, or cleaning up their environment, or Indian racism, all those different things that individuals are particularly drawn to. They want to make a difference in. Now there's an opportunity where you can do that, and you can go and post your positive intention on and the way that it works, when we get thousands and thousands and maybe millions of intentions all on this one digital tree, it's actually, because everything is energy, right?
Yes.
Even our intentions, our words, our thoughts are energy.
Yes.
And we're going to create this really powerful energy field, as you said, and it affects everybody else. And more people begin to raise up their consciousness, and then the darkness is just going to have to end up disappearing. And we know that I'm sure you know about this. We know that works because way back in the 80s, remember when the Maharishi and transcendental meditation came about, and they actually, this was well documented. For a whole weekend, they had about 3,000 TMers meditating on world peace. And it was documented by the chief of police in Washington, I think it's Washington, D.C., that all the violence and crime and murders, it went way down. So we know that when you put out that positive energy field, it's going to affect other energy fields. So yeah, that's so good.
Yes, absolutely. So we can make a difference.
We can make a difference. Yeah.
We have our intention. And I think when we show up with our best self, then we truly impact all others.
Absolutely. I just want to say that, so you can go to the tree, just treeofpositiveintentions.com, and that's where you can post your positive intention and tell your friends about that. So the more people we get on there, as soon as it's going to happen. And you just said we all can make a difference. I actually have an ebook that I wrote called "We All Make a Difference." We all can make a difference, and so you can get a free copy of that there as well. Okay, good. So I think we're making progress. I think we're making some positive changes here. So tell us a little bit more about what your blueprint for the human spirit is, and what you're currently working on, and how you're helping people and make these changes.
Yes. Well, the blueprint for the human spirit was like my inner teacher. When I made a shift in my life after going to a leadership conference and did journaling and visioning for the first time. And from that moment on, I left my career behind, and I started reading all the spiritual books I could, and going to workshops and going to holistic expos. But I was raised with what I call the unholy trinity of guilt, shame, and fear. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, I was very fearful that someone would lead me down the wrong path. And I didn't want that to happen after all, because I was told as a child that if you do anything wrong, if you don't, follow the teachings of the Bible literally, that, where you'd end up, and it wasn't up there.
You're going to go to hell. Oh, I know. That's so bad.
It's religious abuse. Anything that takes us away from God, makes us separate from our higher self, or to fear God. My parents used to talk, and the church, they talked about these God-fearing people. Well, I don't want to have anything to do with that, because God is love. And some people don't like to use the word God. If you want it, we all have our own word for it. It's okay. God's very simple. But what happened to me was, after reading all of this information and trying all these practices, I was awakened at 3:30 in the morning, and information started flowing in. It was almost as if I tapped into this universal data bank of divine information. It started flowing in. So I'd lay there.
It's a channel to you, yeah.
an hour and a half. And then I got up and went to my computer and entered all this information. And it started with a simple mind, body, spirit triangle. And it kept growing and growing. I would be awakened 3 to 4 days a week for 6 months. And this information just kept flowing in. And it started so simple, but it kept evolving with sacred geometry. And I didn't even know what that was at the time. But it evolved into this beautiful chart or matrix that I call the blueprint for the human spirit. It has 5 dimensions: the physical, mental, emotional, intuitive, and spiritual, and 5 fields of existence: the energy or quantum, personal, social, global, and eternal. And in each one of these 25 cells, there are different aspects of our life, but this brought it all together in perfect harmony because for instance, in the personal realm, which is where I spend a lot of my time, where I focus most of my efforts, when we merge and integrate them all into one beautiful whole, then we can live authentically. We can embrace and express the essence of our being. In the social realm, when we live in harmony with our gifts and share those with others in a variety of ways, we can serve compassionately and uplift others using our gifts. And in the global realm is where we can leave a legacy of love that can shift things. This is my legacy, the blueprint for the human spirit. It's why I'm here, my passion and my purpose. And the interesting thing about the blueprint is that it is about our inner landscape. It isn't a religion or anything like that. It's about our inner landscape. And it's compatible with new science and ancient teachings, Eastern philosophy, and Western psychology. So it's a beautiful guide for people from all walks of life and from all faiths. And so it is just a way, it guided me daily, step by step, until I felt like I was able to show up as the love that I am and let my light shine in this very unique way. So it is a guide that, and certainly all of my books and my writings are about an aspect of the blueprint. But once again, I do focus on helping individuals discover who they are. So we are here on earth to do that. That is the very first thing that we're here. We are here to discover who we are. And then once we know that, then we can figure out why we're here and serve others in very positive ways, and then make a difference. And then we can leave this beautiful legacy for future generations.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's just like what Gandhi said, you want to be the change that you want to see in the world.
exactly.
You got to be the light that and be the change. And the good news, the great news is you can do it. Absolutely, you can do it. There's no limitations of what we're capable of when we set our mind to it, and when we're just wake up and realize that that's really what our purpose is, and that we have that power to do that, and that we have, however you want to talk about God, spirit, the creative force is inside of all of us. It's inside all of us, and it can be just such it can be such an amazing experience here on this planet when we begin to wake up. I think that's what Buddha said. I remember one time they asked Buddha if he was God, and he said, "No, I am awake." He's awake. Just wake up and realize, there's so much more that, we're still pretty much caught in this 3-dimensional world, but the universe is it's quantum, it's multi-dimensional, and so the more we can tap into that, it's amazing what's going to be possible and how we can live on this planet.
Right. And certainly we need to bring our thoughts and our feelings in alignment with our behaviors, our behaviors into alignment with our knowings, so that we can be authentic. When we are, not in harmony with what we know as to be our truth, then we create stress, which leads to illness and who knows what all. So but we have to bring everything into alignment, which isn't always easy. I used to think a balance was walking the tightrope and spinning the plates and, juggling all the balls at once. But it isn't. It's about living our truth. And I have this funny illustration in my powder room. I have a collection of these story people prints, and they're just really special. But this one is a woman with one bottom and 3 torsos. And the caption says, if I could just get myself to agree on something, life would be so much easier.
Yeah.
And certainly that's what we want to do. And it doesn't have to be so serious. I think some people, I was raised in this conservative fundamental religion. I mean, they were very dour people, but I think we're here to find and express joy.
Absolutely.
And to just appreciate and with a sense of wonder. Another thing that happened to me that was so powerful, I had this beautiful blueprint and worked with it for about 6 years, but it was a very intellectual process because I'm rational, logical. I like charts. I'm science trained. But I was meditating one morning and I experienced 15 past lives in an hour and a half. Wow. A dramatic event in the lives of 16 people. And I was so overwhelmed, I didn't know what to do, but a friend said, write it all down. And when I did, I realized that there were 15 primary boxes or cells in the matrix at that time. And there was one for each of those. And each one of them reflected a core shift in consciousness. And each one reflected an aspect of my life today. And each one of them showed me how we go from being victims to trying hard with ego effort, until we finally discover how to allow, to work with and through, God works with and through us so that we can make a difference. And eventually we can show up as the love of God. And later that week, I shared this with a friend of mine who was a therapist. And she said, well, would you like to do a regression? And I thought, really? I have all this. I'm going to try to figure out and integrate their messages. And I said, oh, why not? And so she guided me back in time. And I was a child at the feet of Jesus when he said, let the children come to me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Oh. And in that moment, I finally got it. I knew what that meant. And I knew what we were aspiring to do and be and express, because children are loving and playful
and open,
joyful and innocent.
Yeah. And open-minded. Yeah.
Loving, curious, that is where we want to go. And that archetype, I call all these 15 people like archetypes of 16 too, is how we express our divinity. That is where we were going. The kingdom of heaven is within us. Yeah. And that is how we express it as children, as these beautiful, innocent beings. So we got to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's so well said. Back on that same point about being joyful, everybody's so serious. I know, I think it was Yogananda who also said, why aren't we smiling when we're meditating? Not all serious, such like being all serious. No, you should be smiling because you're in a place where you should really feel well. And just like, isn't it true that most of the statues see of Buddha, he looks like he has like a little smile. He has a little smile. Yeah, he's just feeling. Because so we need to bring a lot more joy into our life.
We do need to bring joy in. Well, there's one other thing I'd like to share about my work. And as I was receiving the blueprint, I discovered that I was intuitive. Now, when you're trained in science, and to be very logical and rational, that was kind of difficult for me. But I discovered that when people asked me for help, that I received guidance, I received images, and I sensed energy. In fact, I received a lot of it through my body. And so my body would go into motion and I'd kind of reflect what was going on within them. And I realized that I could help others. And I don't say that I am, say, a healer per se. I'm in the healing fields, but I facilitate these beautiful, what I call dramatic intuitive healings or spiritual blueprinting sessions, because they are certainly all relevant to the blueprint. And in the process, I become like a mirror and reflect back to them what their higher self wants them to know. And it's so powerful because when we tap into this higher guidance that we all have, most of us have just been turned off because we were told angels don't exist and we're not seeing that, and you have to color in the lines, and we've just been limited in so many ways. But we all have these gifts that we can awaken to. And certainly what I've discovered is that healing is a shift in perception. More often than not, when we need a healing, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, intuitive, or spiritual, we have to shift. And healing on the physical level isn't going to occur until we heal the deeper levels. We have to get to the root, because it is bad, or not bad, but certainly emotions that are negative, that are suppressing us, experiences that we're hanging on to, thoughts that are, not in harmony with truth of our being, our beliefs that are so limiting. When we are infinite beings. And so when we can shift our perception so that we can see and know the essence of our being, then healing is possible. Healing can occur at all levels, but it has to start at the root. And that is what I offer, spiritual blueprinting sessions. So those two are available, and we'll tell you how to access that. But it's so powerful to be able to release all this baggage. I mean, we carry around steamer trunks full of stuff, negativity, and we have all these blocks and blinders on our eyes, so to speak, so that when we can release that, we truly can be free to be all that we are and to enjoy this beautiful life that we have been given here on earth. It's an amazing opportunity for us just to be here. We're so blessed.
Yeah, we should be in gratitude every day. I try and be really in gratitude every day, just grateful just to wake up and breathe and look and hear and see all the things that we can do. Yeah, we should be grateful. One thing I want to add to what you said was, our intuition is actually our higher self. That's connecting to our higher self is our intuition. And that's how we can connect it higher to spirit.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, how about tell us just a little bit more about how going through your blueprint for nourishing the human spirit, how does that really help people to affect the changes that they need in their life?
Yes. Well, the blueprint offers a guide, and on my website under drpamelagerali.com, I have one page. It's called Offerings and Spiritual, and the blueprint is in there. And there is this chart that you can actually print. This is just the very most basic chart. And, but some of the benefits that we can experience by studying what this has to offer is that we learn about ourselves. We discover what and who we are. And, I think we're all fooled into thinking that we're this body We identify with our titles, with our education degrees, that alphabet soup behind our names. We identify with our social economic status. We are not any of those. We are divine beings. We are born here with this amazing divine inheritance. And certainly we can discover what that is. And the key thing is that we can quit struggling and striving to be something that we already are. We just need to wake up to the truth of our being. Now, I went through many years as a seeker, but I think we need to get off that spiritual treadmill so that we truly can just embrace the truth of our being. When we discover who we are and what we are, then we just need to bring our actions and our thoughts and our feelings into alignment with that.
Yeah.
We can heal the past, heal all these wounds. We can release fear and addictions because the blueprint shows us and helps us to discover our oneness.
Okay.
And until we do, we will substitute addictions, for things that we think we're lacking, and go through all of these unnecessary grief and challenges that we don't necessarily need to face. But the process really, the blueprint really shows us how to show up as essence, what we truly are.
That's so good. So well said. And yeah, I really thank you for your work and your great contributions. You know what that reminds me of too? I always think of this great saying. I'm sure you probably heard this. I don't know who said it, but you can travel the world seeking the meaning of life and return home and just be still and know yourself for the first time. It's all inside of ourselves. We have everything else we need to know and what we need to do and be, if we just can be still and use these things like your blueprint and all the things that we have people to help us to discover, like you say, ourself, our true being and our true nature and what we're here to do. And that's, so I think that's really the message of this particular episode is that's the great news that we're all capable of doing great things. And infinite things. And really, if we are going to see all these changes that we most people want and need, that we want to see in the world in all these different areas, but the real way it's going to happen is when everybody changes their own self and becomes their best self. And that's how we're going to get the really permanent changes that we really need to see.
Exactly. Beautifully said. Yes.
Okay. So oh, go ahead.
In the meantime, we can also nourish ourselves. In fact, the very first lesson that I learned from the blueprint in the personal realm is that we have to take good care of ourselves. We have to put ourselves first. And I've been sitting and meditating with, and I'm not good at it because I'm very hyper, but I do.
Me too.
I was sitting today and I started receiving these amazing messages. They're just very little snippets of wisdom. And the one today was put yourself first. And so I'm creating little tiny short videos and putting those on Facebook and on my YouTube channel and whatever. But the one today was so perfect because it was put yourself first. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our body. And the key is to nurture and strengthen that. And of course, you spend a lot of time focused on that with good nutrition and exercise and balancing with sleep and moments of peace and inner work. And we have to also take responsibility for our healthcare. Our healthcare system is really broken today. And, when I was a nurse, we did a lot of personal care. We touched our patients. I don't think nurses hardly ever touch patients anymore. It's just such a crime because there's so much healing that comes through with that gift that we have, the gift of touch. But we have to assume responsibility. We have to
Exactly.
look at what the possibilities are. We have to explore that. We have to make choices. And my primary guidance is to choose strategies that are the least invasive first.
Absolutely.
Ones that are not going to create so many side effects that then you have to treat the side effects of the side effects of the side effects. It just keeps going. With regard to our minds, we need to expand and stimulate the mind with positive things. Turn off the nasty news.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
best thing that we can do.
Yeah.
It is so negative. We never see positive things. We can read things that are more uplifting. We can have discussions with people that are so positive. And then we want to open and heal the heart. We have all had people diminish us in some way. And with forgiveness, we can let go. We may never forget, but we can let go of those things that have hurt us in some way. And we can accept what is, and we can find positive things in our lives that excite us. A passion for like photography. My husband loves that. For writing like I do, for being in nature. All of those things nourish our soul. And then our intuition. We want to listen to our gut and follow that guidance that we receive, because if we did, we would make a lot fewer meanderings. We could really accomplish something so much easier if we just paused and listened to that inner guidance.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to discover and express the essence of our being and raise our energy vibration. So find a way, find others that we can be with that are in harmony with our belief systems and can support us and encourage us along the way. So there are many things that we can do to nurture the human spirit.
That's so well good. Again, yeah, I want to thank you for your great your contributions and all your offering. I just want to add real quick to the health, back to the health thing.
Yes.
As you were saying, see, we have things backwards right now. What's called alternative medicine, that really should be the mainstream thing, all the natural ways of healing. And drugs and surgery, sometimes they have their place, but that's an alternative. That should be alternative medicine. So people need to, and I think more and more people are realizing that. I think actually I've heard that more people went to more natural type medicine than they did to pharmaceutical lately. So that's a good thing. And also the thing to realize is we don't really have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So those are all important things to know. But you expressed it so well that, and that is the great news. That's the great news, that we have the capacity that we can take responsibility for our health and for everything else in our life, and we can heal and we can make a big difference. So that's the great news that you and I came up with today.
And we are ageless and awesome, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
I'm going to be having a landmark birthday here in a few weeks. And so I'll be 70. And
you're still a youngster.
I know you're a few years older than me.
Yeah, I was just 80. I just turned 80.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's just kind of mind-blowing.
I feel so energized because I know that why I'm here. I know who I am. And that's so exactly right. I quit struggling. And so I'm determined to share these gifts that I have received for as long as I possibly can. And if my mother is an example of long life, she's 91.
Oh, good for her. Yeah.
And she will be here in a couple of weeks to spend the winters with my husband, the winter with my husband and I. She spends summers in Pennsylvania with my older sister. Oh, nice. So I'm looking forward to being viable for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I once wrote a poem. May I share this?
Oh, please.
A friend of mine was having a landmark birthday, and I thought I'd bring this out since a message to myself as well. It's called Ageless and Awesome. At the summit, you willingly exchange well-worn hiking boots for a pair of wings and learn to fly with grace and ease. Above gravity's familiar pull, you are lifted by the collective wisdom and struggles of your foremothers and forefathers. Insight and intuition allow you to see between the lines, beneath the surface, unaided by the readers on your nose. Wrinkles vanish as your inner radiance shines through every smile and brightens every word and lights the way into the promised land. Barbells of effort and ego are abandoned as you exercise the newfound strength and power of your loving essence. Re-energized, renewed, reborn. From a moment in the spa of the divine, you embrace infinite potential and eternal youth.
Wow. I think we better quit right now. I think that's it. I think we're going to stop right there. That's the greatest news we could give out. So nice, beautiful.
Thank
Really
you.
well done. Well, Pamela, thank you so much for being here. That was awesome, and I really appreciate your contributions. And so again, people can go to it's Dr. Dr. Pamela Girali, but we'll put this in the description of your website, so people can go to your website and get all your free gifts and get your books and
Yes.
contact you as well. Yeah.
Yes, on my homepage is a free book you can get called Blueprint for Conscious Compassionate Living. And also there is a free first chapter of my book, The Dance of Ego in Essence, and the beginning of my companion journal. And I've done meditations with music by a gifted artist here in Naples that go along with that Divine Diva kit, so to speak, as well as a class. So there are a lot of resources to help you discover your divine blueprint and live it.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. So, and also I want to remind you to go to the Tree of Positive, not the Tree of Positive Intentions.com, and you can post your positive intentions. So I think we're going to just end with, and I actually got this saying from many years ago from a newscaster in San Francisco, and he used to always end his show with, if you didn't like today's news, go out and make some of your own. Go out and make some great news.
Yes.
There's plenty of possibilities for that, isn't there?
Infinite.
Thank you so much, Pamela.
Blessings. Thank you so much.